ministers in accordance with the Article 1143 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Honorable members, I am also in receipt of a formal communication from the National Unity Platform, NUP, designating the following members for this following position. The Honorable Matthias Mpuga, MP Nyendo Mukungwe constituency, as the leader of the opposition in Parliament. The Honorable John Baptist Nabanja, MP Manjia County, as the Chief Opposition Whip. Please join me in congratulating the members. I urge you to diligently play your roles as prescribed in the relevant laws and the rules of procedure. Congratulations, honorable members. Maybe at this stage, the Honorable Matthias Mpuga would like to say something by way of acceptance, because if he doesn't accept, then they have to look for another person.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and the colleagues members of Parliament, and our colleagues members of Parliament, of my presence to deal with the afflictions of our society in a manner that is bipartisan. An old friend called me after my appointment, Right Honourable Speaker, to offer his congratulations, and he told me, look, you are not the leader of the opposition, you are the leader of our position. Then I asked, which is that position? He said, you offered at your appointment that the theme of your leadership will be accountability and service. Right Honourable Speaker, that is my position. It should be the position of this House, to which I will be the law. Right Honourable Speaker. And I promise friends, comrades here in Parliament that I will offer leadership that far to ensure that our mandate to work on the challenges and the opportunities of our colony peoples are fulfilled without fear or favor or contradiction. And the team on your left, Right Honourable Speaker, is that zealous to do that job, just that job, Right Honourable Speaker. We look forward to harmonious working relations with comrades up on the right of the House, because at the end of the day, we are the House of Parliament, a House of the people's consensus. And we are here to legislate the people's consensus, Right Honourable Speaker. I will be at the service of the House. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nabanja. The leader of the opposition has spoken, so as Chief Opposition Whip, you don't have much to say, except to accept. Proceed.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In equal measure, allow me send my congratulatory message to you. Mr. Speaker, mine is also to appreciate my party National Unity Platform and consent to the appointment to this office of Chief Opposition Whip. But also, Mr. Speaker, to pledge total commitment to work collaboratively with the other whips of the parties that form opposition of the 11th Parliament to discharge my roles and functions as stipulated in the laws and the rules of procedure. I thank you.
Thank you very much. As we embark on this morning leg of the sitting, please note that later in this afternoon, the House will receive the budget speech for the financial year 2021-2022. Honorable members, the record should be corrected from my communication. The statement that I received communication from HE, the President, on the 8th of June 2021 on the appointment of members of the Cabinet. This particular paragraph has not been improved upon. It was drafted in anticipation. I have not yet received any letter from the President, so let the records correct that. Secondly, on the appointment committee composition, we have worked out the matrix and we find that the number exceeds the required number for this committee by 5. So there is need for the NRM as a party to withdraw 6 names, which they had earlier submitted, so that they can now be approved in accordance with the numbers given for this committee. The matrix show that NRM will present 16 members, the 17th being the chair of the appointment committee. NUP will present 3, FDC 1, DP 1, UPC 1, GEMA 1, PPP 1, UPDF 1, Independent 3. So I urge the NRM party to do this quickly and resubmit, so that by the time I come to this particular motion, the 6 names have been withdrawn. Given that is going to be the first item on the agenda, I might have to adjust the order paper to accommodate, to give time to the NRM party to make these alterations. So I'll alter the order paper as follows. Item 7 shall become item 1. And I've received communication from the President, given that this matter has financial implications. Since there is no cabinet yet, no Prime Minister, no Vice President, the President has given the authority to move this motion to Honorable Fox Odoe Oyelewo, and the person to second the motion will be the Honorable Cecilia Atim Ogwal from Modokolo District. The order paper is accordingly altered, that item 1 shall become item 2. Item 7 shall become item 4, and we proceed accordingly.
Item 4, motion for a resolution of Parliament to vary the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers in accordance with Article 113 and 114 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
Honorable Fox Odoi. Microphone.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion for the resolution of Parliament to vary the total number of cabinet ministers and other ministers under Articles 113, Clause 2.
Hello? Point of order? Procedure?
Yeah. Right Honorable Speaker.
On what matter do you rise?
A matter of privilege
No.
that has suddenly occurred that I want to bring to your attention.
Please proceed.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Dr. Batua Timothy Lusala, Member of Parliament, Jinja West Constituency, on the FDC ticket. Right Honorable Speaker, I seek leave to interrupt the motion on a matter of privilege that has suddenly occurred that I want to address under Rule 112, leave of absence. Right Honorable Speaker, this rule dictates to us that every member shall attend the sittings of the House unless leave of absence has been granted to him or her by the Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as I speak right now, a very good number of us, especially from the opposition side, are being held at the gate, knowing that you've just proclaimed that where we are is actually Parliament. I therefore see no reason as to why SFC decides to use their eyes to know who has COVID and who has no COVID, to deny the members who are out there at the gate, honorable members of Parliament, to get in here and join us. When I look at my back, I see so many seats, which convinces me that you rightfully expected all of us to come and come in big numbers. I therefore rise with the presumption that the Right Honorable Speaker could be blind, and I should bring his attention such that he makes a ruling to that effect, and those members come and join us. It's very important, Right Honorable Speaker, for those members to come and join us, because today is very historical. Whereas the Constitution in Article 111 grants the President power to appoint ministers, in Article 113 it limits that number to 21 cabinet ministers. What I have to my information, that the number is going to exceed that, and therefore he will need our approval. It is therefore very important that you make a ruling to the members who are held outside there, such that they come and make a contribution on what is going to take place here. I beg. Thank you very much.
First of all, the man you see sitting here as Speaker of Parliament is not blind, as you can see. Two, if you had eyes, you would have seen that I was also held at the gate for about 15 minutes. This is the Speaker. And you didn't see that. Because I needed to produce my COVID results, which was on the phone, which I'd shut up and put somewhere else. I had to turn it on and scroll through. And I showed the officer my test results, which were done yesterday. The times are bad. There are so many rules we can bend, but not this one. This one we cannot bend. And if it is because their test results are there, then my ruling would be that they should not come in. But if the test results are there, and they are being held for other different reasons, then my ruling would be different. But the officers involved check the results, valid results, allow all members with the valid results to come in. I have just stated that this House is under attack from COVID, both members and staff. We have cases. So please let's not take this as a light matter. It's a serious matter. Thirdly, we have quorum. We can transact business. Honorable Yellow. Procedure.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I also congratulate you for getting that office with that Deputy Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the procedure matter I'm raising is that definitely members were tested, but results are not out. So would it be procedure okay to stop members from accessing Parliament, whereas the failure of producing results is not on them? However, Honorable Speaker, even those testing and checking members, we don't know their results. We have never seen them. The SFC must also display their results before they check me, because I gave in my body to be tested at Parliament. So would it be procedure okay to stop members who were tested by people who have not displayed their testing to them? We are not simple people, right, Honorable Speaker. We are members of Parliament. We are members of Parliament, elected by our people. And the cost of testing us is high. Schools have been closed, but no child has been tested, not even in our rural areas. So would it be procedure okay, right, Honorable Speaker, to stop us? And those who are checking us, stopping us, we don't know their results, and they are touching us. They might be more dangerous than us, right, Honorable Speaker. You have to protect your people. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
That's
clarification.
On what matter?
On the same matter, right,
Which
Honorable Speaker.
Procedure?
Yes, please. Right, Honorable Speaker. I beg to stand on procedural matter. I know a precedent has already been created before that the reason why COVID test is required as one of the preconditions for accessing Parliament is because of the presence of His Excellency the President. Otherwise, all of us here can confirm that we all converged in the Parliament premises. We all came in the same buses, and so we are all related to one another. So, right, Honorable Speaker, when I look at where you are sitting and where Parliament, members of Parliament are sitting, is very, very far away, almost 1,000 times to where the President is going to sit. In other words, the President is the one who requires that we must have COVID test. So therefore, right, Honorable Speaker, I remember when you and me attended a function in Atiak, there was a special tent for those who had not got their COVID results or their COVID test. They had a tent. So since these are members of Parliament, I would want to vary, because not in our rules. You know, this COVID pandemic has brought so many stress on us. And we may have to find a way. And right, Honorable Speaker, I know you are capable of finding a way. Because now, if we say unless you have a certificate, you can't access, it becomes very difficult. You may think your Parliament is being discriminative, whereas they are not. But as for observance of SOP, the distance between you and us, the distance between us and His Excellency the President is so huge. And even the open air, the Minister of Health designate can confirm that the open air is an added advantage. So right, Honorable Speaker, this is the moment. We want to start with a good spirit. We want to start with a spirit of cooperation. We want to start on the basis that COVID will force us to change certain behaviors. And however painful it may be, we need to assure the President that those whose certificates have not come, please sit aside and make sure you don't relate with the rest. But those who have got their certificates confirmed, like you and me, we can relate with each other. This is a moment of test, and I think COVID is going to test the strengths of our leadership. Right Honorable Speaker, as an elder, I'm pleading for those people who have been cut out from sitting because of just a mere result of tests, and even mine came just a few minutes ago, and which means I think we need to consider so that we all move in one spirit. I beg to present.
Order. Point of order.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on a point of order. First, allow me to appreciate my senior and my mother, Honorable Cecilia Ogwal. I also want to thank her for putting on her mask, but putting it on the wrong way and exposing her nose in a place of congregation. I want to appeal to the honorable members who are coming to use this microphone to keep their masks on. Right Honorable Speaker, when we congregate here, 520 of us plus, it is already a place of gathering. And in a place of gathering, there are many risks. The risk is not limited to His Excellency the President. And we don't test because we are coming in the presence of His Excellency the President. We test to protect one another. I must correct Honorable Cecilia Ogwal that we are all at risk of getting COVID-19.
The point of order?
Is Honorable Cecilia Ogwal in order to state that we only test when we are coming in the presence of the President because we risk the President's life and not ours, and calling it a mere test? Is she in order? I thank you.
No, these tests are very important because when we congregate, there are high possibilities that if one of us is infected, then we'll carry to their families and all the other people around them. We don't want this to happen. We don't want Parliament to be part of this. I request you, honorable members, these are difficult times. Whatever keeps us safe, we must hold on to it. We can never politicize a pandemic of this nature. The rule is stay safe. And if there's any indication that something might go wrong as a result of people gathering together, people whose status are not known, that creates the problem that we are trying to avoid here. The challenge that I've also noticed is that because of the numbers, the results now take a little longer than usual to come. And sometimes by the time the results come, you are due for another test. The managers of this particular process should make sure they pull up their socks and make this happen. It was since last week that I announced that members of Parliament would be tested on days that are announced that day. And the testing people knew that Parliament would be sitting today for purposes that we have already stated, receiving the budget speech of the President. Now, for results of these particular members not to have been segregated and brought forward so that they can have access to this place is irregular. But that irregularity cannot now make us say, because they did not act on it, let us not put our lives at risk. It might not make sense. I've just stated for you, Michael, my own case as Speaker. They did not allow me until I produced the results. They didn't allow me. And they were firm. The guy did not even salute me before I showed my thing. After that, he saluted me. And I understand what he was doing. So please, let's come together on this and find a way that will not make us anxious. The Honorable Cecilia Wall has proposed that I create a tent for those who don't have results. Where do I create that tent now at this moment? Do I order some people to come in front, others to sit back, the ones who have no results? Would that be reasonable? Are you sure? Can somebody check this up and see if it is feasible? Clerk? Is it feasible? I think the place is fairly congested already. And the distances are not even to what was required.
Excuse me. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
This is possible. On the day of the voting, which we call a vote here, there are members whose results were not ready. But there are also members who had been denied. I don't want to give the names. But they were identified and they were taken somewhere there. They had created a tent. So the same approach can also apply for this case. It's not something that we're inventing. It has ever happened. Thank you.
Another tent outside this one? If that is possible, please create a tent outside this one.
Yes. Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Procedure.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Allow me to add my voice also congratulating you and your deputy for assuming that chair. Right Honorable Speaker, we have members, more especially from the opposition side, who even last time during the State of the Nation address did not receive their results. And again, they presented themselves for the test, and today they are not here because they have not received their results. Right Honorable Speaker, this is a very serious violation on the part of the members of Parliament who come here not as their own representatives but the representatives of the people who elected them to this Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, if the members did their due diligence to present themselves for testing and the responsible people who are supposed to do the testing and provide the results have not done their work. Right Honorable Speaker, you are the head of this institution of Parliament. Members have already complied. They have done their test. I would like to know whether it will not be procedurally right for you to use your office to make sure and demand that members who tested for their results ever since last week during the State of Nation address and even now, their results should be given to them so that they access these chambers. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me also to add my voice that during the first sitting when we were electing you in the chair and your deputy, we had a separate tent for members who had cases. Right Honorable Speaker, it's really very bad for a member of Parliament to do his or her part and then to be stopped from the gate. I urge that. I move a motion that you provide for these members who are out a separate tent so that they are part of this very historical moment that we are having as Parliament of Uganda because it's not their fault. I beg to submit.
Procedure, Honorable.
You are now raising a motion for the Speaker to create a tent. Is that motion seconded?
Further procedure, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm on the one with the microphone. Right Honorable Speaker, you rightly guided the House that we are not in normal times. I'm sure everybody knows this. The situation we are facing has nothing to do with which political party. Every human being is under attack. The concerns of members affect both sides of the House. I'm sure there are colleagues from the opposition who are affected by the delay of the results as well as the government side. You've guided that if people are being denied access as a result of having no results, your ruling has been given. It is clear. Everybody must have the results. If they are being denied as a result of the inefficiency in processing the results, you have also given your ruling. Is it procedurally right to continue this filibustering and delaying the House's business? I pray, Right Honorable Speaker, that your ruling stands and the House of the business proceeds. I submit.
Honorable members.
Further procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, please. Please.
Yeah, Right Honorable
Please,
Speaker.
Honorable, please. Please. I had asked for a tent to be created to accommodate this category of our members. But also, as you stand here, your results might be coming in at any time. I got mine on phone when I was coming this way. I left home without it. So it does not just affect members, it has even affected the Speaker. I would not be sitting here if that result are not going by what happened to me at the gate. I would not be here. But my results came just before I reached the gate. So, honorable members, let's take this. And I said it should not be politicized. Because the people who are there, you don't know which parties they belong to. Must be all mix of people there. And I don't know whether SFC will know that this is NRM, this is DP, this is... I don't know whether that is possible for 529 members. But please arrange either the holding tent, put some chairs there, although they're on the wrong side with the wind also. If there are anybody affected, the distance is good enough though. But they will not be able to contribute because the microphones are all this side. Yes, how do you move from there and come here when we are fearing mixing? So can we proceed with the business, please, while this is being done?
Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to record my appreciation for the decision you have taken just now. But I also believe that with the technicians here, we can arrange a similar unit like this to be put there for them. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Welcome. Please proceed.
Yeah, Right Honorable Speaker, allow me withdraw the statement that I made, that the Speaker is blind or the Speaker was blind, and allow me bring it to your attention.
Honorable member, please. No, I know I am not blind, so I cannot be offended by a statement like that.
There's another aspect to this matter of privilege. When I was at the Parliament, the fact is...
Honorable member, you raised your matter, we have governed on it, a decision has been taken. Please resume your seat, we proceed with the business.
Thank you, Right Honorable. Oh, Musk.
And you see, you have just violated one of the principles as well, taking with your nose in the microphone. Please resume your seat. Yes, Honorable Doi, Fox or Yellow.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to move a motion for resolution of Parliament to vary the total number of cabinet ministers and other ministers under Articles 113, Clause 2, and 114, Clause 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, this motion is moved under Rule 56 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament and on the express instructions of the President. Whereas Articles 111 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda provides that cabinet shall consist of the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, and such number of ministers as may appear to the President to be reasonably necessary for the efficient running of the state, and whereas Article 111, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Cabinet is mandated to determine, formulate, and implement the policy of the government and to perform such other functions conferred by the Constitution or any other law, aware that under Articles 113, Clause 1, and 114, Clause 1, 114, Clause 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Cabinet ministers and other ministers appointed by the President with the approval of Parliament, noting that under Article 113, Clause 2 and Article 114, Clause 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers shall not exceed 21 except with the approval of Parliament. Further noting that on the 14th day of August 2020, a motion was moved and supported by, among others, the Honorable Atim Ogwal Cecilia Barbara, which was overwhelmingly supported and approved by the Parliament, to include elders as a special interest group, realizing that for the efficient running of the state, His Excellency the President has determined that there's a need to increase the total number of cabinet ministers and the total number of other ministers. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Parliament that, 1, the total number of cabinet ministers provided for under Article 113, Clause 2, be increased from 21 to 30. And 2, the total number of other ministers provided for under Article 114, Clause 3, be increased from 21 to 50. Right Honorable Speaker, this motion is moved by Fox Odoy Oyuelo, Member of Parliament, West Badama North East, and seconded by the Honorable Atim Ogwal Cecilia Barbara. I beg to move.
Motion. Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Can I deal with the secondment? Who is seconding the motion?
Right Honorable Speaker, the changes here makes the situation a bit strange. So I didn't know where to speak from. But Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to clarify from the presentation made by the mover that although the mover says in this motion that the increase is from 21 to 30 under Article 113(2) and from 21 to 50 under Article 1143, I would like to inform the House from the onset that the variations have been done in the subsequent parliaments. Today, we only need one variation. In other words, over the years, from the 1995 Constitution, we have been increasing. But right now, we need only one. We now have 79, but we need one variation to make 80. So I think that is the first clarification I would like to make. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm standing here to second this motion.
Order. Order. Negotiation on points of order are not required.
Right, Honorable Speaker, we are not negotiating about the order. I was asking Honorable Cecilia Ogwal to keep distance. Right, Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the mover and the seconder, and I'm not here to oppose the motion. Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Emat Cecilia Ogwal is stating that we only need a variation of one. Assume was a different president. That would not be the case. Each parliament must approve the variation as read by the mover of the motion. Not that it's only one. I hope she's listening. Right, Honorable Speaker.
I am listening. It's directed to me.
So, Right, Honorable Speaker, that's the first one. The second one is, Right, Honorable Speaker, the mover has put a case of increasing. Which one would come first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Or the egg and the chicken? The list of the cabinet ministers were released before we approved. Was it assumed that Parliament will automatically approve? We thought the list would have come after the motion has been approved by Parliament. So, Right, Honorable Speaker, that makes us look like it's a rubber stamp. It's always determined that Parliament will approve whatever comes here. So, Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Cecilia in order to come here and say we are only approving the increment by one person. Yet this is the 11th Parliament. And you know each Parliament approved the variation of numbers from the 21 to the number required by His Excellency. So is Honorable Cecilia Ogwal in order?
I think the Honorable Member was just trying to restate the history. That in the past we have already gone up to 79. This time they are asking for 81 additional. So it's not a very huge variation that the President is seeking on the varying of the numbers. That is the point that she was making. If she made it any other way, she would be wrong. But I suspect she meant what I have just stated, giving a historical perspective and saying, okay, we have done up to 79 before. Now they are requesting us for 80. I think that's the point she was trying to make. And secondly, the list coming before the numbers are increased, that would be improper, because as I told you, I have actually not yet received the formal communication from the President. So the rest of the things you have been seeing, I cannot vouch for it until I see a letter under the hand of the President that these are the names, then I can say something about it. But I haven't received. Probably he's waiting for this motion as well to communicate officially to the Speaker. Because the first communication on these matters come to the Speaker. Those that have gone with it to the press, I don't know where they got it from, but it should come to me as Speaker first. Yes?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. We shall take that as hearsay which appeared in the press.
Yes.
Which appeared in the press. So we shall hear from you. But I think for clarity, that's why you, as being a constitutional lawyer, I wanted us to be really clear whether that's what I was putting Honorable Celia on order is the correct thing, that each Parliament must approve the variation, not that because there was a historical thing, so we just assume. So I just needed clarity for me to be very clear in the future that when we are here in the 12th Parliament, we don't make the same mistake. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, the extension that was given by the 10th Parliament lapsed on the 12th of May. It's not there anymore. This is a new approval being sought for varying the numbers. Yes, Honorable.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I made that clarification because I knew that there are many members like Honorable Elijah who probably have not been following. So what I'm asking now is that we only need just one extra addition to the 79 which have thus far been approved. So that's why, Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here to second the motion, and I think I will be able to justify after the mover has already done his justification. Thank you.
There was a procedural matter from the member for Kilak. There was a procedural matter, and you know procedure takes precedence.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the procedural matters I wanted to raise, it was already alluded to by Honourable Cooper, is that His Excellency the President came up with the list of members of Parliament, whereby you clarified on, and I wanted to find out if it is procedurally right for members of Parliament to verify and do the approval after when the President has already given the list.
No,
that was a procedural matter. And I am grateful that you did the clarification.
Thank you very much. Order, and then we proceed, members.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, you did make a ruling and in affirmation of what I had raised. So is the Honourable Cecilia Ogwal in order to say I was not listening? I was not following. Yet you have made a ruling in confirming what I was saying here. Is she in order?
No, I think, Honourable Elijah, on this particular one, I think you go and find a moment with Honourable Cecilia Ogwal and settle it, because I think the matter is resolved as far as the House is concerned. Yes, Honourable. Has she finished? The seconder has finished?
Right Honourable Speaker, the motion was seconded.
The motion was seconded, but you see the way you have proceeded does not require any more presentation. Because when I asked for secondment, the seconder spoke to the motion.
Right Honourable Speaker, we shall seek your guidance.
I think the motion is moved, seconded, and is duly before the House. Can I proceed to propose the question for debate?
Yes.
Is that okay? I think it's clear enough.
Yes.
Would you like, yes?
There are some of us who are dissenting on the motion, and we would like to give our position against the motion.
We will debate. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
I'm not going to put the question. I am going to propose the motion for debate. That's what I'm going to do, and that's how we proceed always. Okay? Let us now proceed. Now that I've noted that you have a dissenting opinion, you will speak. You will speak. Okay, can we proceed? Can I again, should I open it for debate? Then you wind up your debate, if you like.
Most obliged, Your Right Honourable Speaker.
You want to justify it?
Right Honourable Speaker, it would serve and it would add value if you permitted me to speak to the motion.
Proceed.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the number of cabinet ministers by constitution is a prerogative of the President. Article 111 provides that there shall be a cabinet, and the cabinet shall consist of the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, and such number of ministers as may appear to the President to be reasonably necessary for the efficient running of state. The operative and cardinal words, Right Honourable Speaker, are may appear to the President and reasonably necessary for the efficient running of state. So the Constitution confers the prerogative to only one person to determine the numbers that are reasonably necessary and what amounts to efficient running of state informed by those numbers. Right Honourable Speaker, you may be aware.
Honourable, please let the member finish. Please,
I'm raising on a procedure.
Yeah, but I know where you're coming from, but let the member finish now, then we'll deal with the procedural matters. is finishing on his debate.
Because what would be the
Let's
essence
follow the sequencing of his argument.
Right Honorable Speaker, the Constitution also confers upon Parliament the mandate to permit the President to appoint any numbers over and above 21. The history of this House has showed that right from the 6th Parliament that was elected immediately after the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution, Parliament permitted the President to appoint numbers that were much higher than 21, both for ministers and ministers of state. This has been the practice. It was done by the 7th Parliament, the 8th, the 9th, and lastly, the 10th. By the time we go to the 10th Parliament, the threshold had increased from 21 ministers to 30. And for other ministers that are popularly known as ministers of state, the numbers had increased from 21 to 49, making a total of 79 ministers and other ministers. Right Honorable Speaker, the President proposes to appoint one more Minister of State in charge of the elderly, and I'm going to give a justification for this. You may be aware, Right Honorable Speaker, that we have just come out of the presidential and general elections, where the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, was elected overwhelmingly by the people of Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, the President presented his manifesto to the people of Uganda. He made commitments as he traversed the country. The President noted that Uganda still faces many challenges, and one of the challenges includes the increase of elderly persons. The life expectancy in Uganda now stands at 62. This was achieved in part and in great part due to the good policies of the national resistance movement that improved the standards of living across the country. These elderly persons face challenges. During the constitutional making process, the delegates were confronted by many proposals, and they did not consider the elderly persons as a special interest group necessary for representation at parliamentary level. The view of the NRM government is that this is a unique group that requires both representation in Parliament, and the 10th Parliament passed a resolution to include the elderly persons as a special interest group. By the time of the promulgation of the 1995 Constitution, Articles 113(2) and 114, Clause 3, restricted the number available to the President to appoint for both ministers and ministers of state to 21. The framers of the Constitution were alive to the fact that it would be necessary to vary this number. They included the provision that I referred to, 111. By 1995, the population of Uganda was 20 million. The current population of Uganda is over and above 45 million. In 1995, Uganda had only 39 districts. We have had a multiplicity of districts, municipalities, counties, and sub-counties ever since then. The view of the President is that there must be a per capita increase in the number of cabinet ministers to service effectively and efficiently the growth in our population. Right Honorable Speaker, this motion seeks to request this House to invest in more numbers in cabinet for the effective and efficient service of country. I beg to move that you do support, honorable colleagues, you do support this motion. I submit.
Any addition from the seconder? I propose the question for debate now.
Right Honorable Speaker, I've seconded this motion not because of the platform or the policy package that was presented by the NRM that led to the election of the president and MPs present here. I supported this motion because of specific reasons that we are all aware of. Right Honorable Speaker, when you look around the House, you look around the documents which has recorded the number of the members of the 11th Parliament, it is very hard to find remnants of the Constituent Assembly. But it looks as if I'm a lone remnant of the Constituent Assembly. And I stand here to apologize that at the time when we were debating the 1995 Constitution, we had not focused seriously on the unique needs of the elderly. So whereas we catered for the needs of other interest groups, we did not cater for the elderly. And Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to remind the Member of Parliament that right now we have 5 parties represented in this House. By order of existence, we have UPC, DP, PPP, JEMA, and NOP. And NOP right now is leading the opposition in the House. That's how democracy works. So we, the opposition, are practicing practical democracy, where you see tangible change. Right Honorable Speaker, the country is yet to see regular elections leading us to peaceful change of regime, peaceful change of government. That's what the country is praying for. But as for now, Right Honorable Speaker, it is important that we have legal framework and policies that takes care of the elderly. The elderly are suffering. You are all representatives of the people of Uganda. In your various areas, you know that there are many people who have reached the age of 65 and they are dying because of high blood pressure, diabetes, because there is no legal requirement that takes care of their unique needs. It is important that we begin to focus on that. I'm appreciative of the fact that the government has come up with the SEC program. But the SEC program is not adequate, it's still lacking legal requirements and policies. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I stand here to request that we should not only allow the 5 members of Parliament to enter Parliament, and we don't provide adequately for that particular sector. Much as we have allowed the 5 members of Parliament to come, as per the motion I moved on the 4th of August last year. And I'm very grateful to Parliament. Nobody opposed that motion. Very few, except 1 or 2 people who did not oppose, not because they were opposing it, but because of other issues which were resolved. But it was popularly approved, and now today we have 5 members representing the elderly. It would therefore be fair that we follow up that motion with a ministry set up to ensure that we come up with legal framework and policies and programs that uniquely takes care of the elderly. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to request the appointing authority that while making the appointment, we also need to know how the deployment is being done and whether the deployment actually takes care of all the areas that members of parliament are concerned with. So I beg to move, Right Honourable Speaker, that this motion be approved. And I want to assure my fellow members of the opposition, in your area, particularly in Dokolo, people are complaining that the age of 60, the age of 80 is not favorable for them because of the suffering that those people have been subjected to for many years. Many of our old people die at the age of 60, 70. By 80, you rarely find old men and old women of 80. So they are requesting that the age be lowered to 60, and so that they can benefit from the SEG. And this is the voice of all the people across the country. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg for a popular support of this motion so that the elderly can be taken care of. I beg to submit.
Thank you very much, honourable members. The question that I propose to you now for debate is for a resolution of Parliament to vary the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers in accordance with Article 113 and Article 114 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. The specific request is to vary by 30 in the case of cabinet ministers and by 50 in the case of other ministers. That is the motion for your debate, and debate starts now. You have to be a bit visible because it's difficult in this kind of light, and let's try to keep our comments sharp and short. Yes. Honorable Sewungu.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I want to thank the mover of the motion, Honourable Foxode, who is actually not a beneficiary of this motion. And Honourable Speaker, I'm against the motion. Honourable Speaker, I'm disputing what the Honourable Member, Honourable Foxode, has said. We don't determine ministers by the fact of having a big population, Honourable Speaker. When you go to Kenya, Kenya has over 70 million people and they have 23 ministers. Tanzania is above 100 million people. They have 19 ministers. Even Burundi, which is gaining democracy of recent, has less than 20 ministers. Honourable Speaker, I've been in this parliament. Ministers are never here. We are creating ministers for nothing. When shall we ever respect our constitution? When shall we ever give a breathing time for this constitution? Honourable Speaker, I was in the 10th parliament. We had a minister who was appointed by the president, an ex-official, from somewhere, I think, Bunyoro, to become as a minister for the elderly. We vetted that minister, Honourable Speaker. You were our boss by then, as of then. This lady never had qualifications. And we spent 5 years without that ministry. Honourable Kawafunzachi was a minister, Honourable Speaker. And she had to step down because of our problems he had by that time. The ministry remained vacant for all that time, and there was no effect against it. We are putting a lot of money on the administrative costs for nothing. Honourable Speaker, as I conclude, 80 ministers is a cost on Ugandans. We want to improve schools. We want to deal with the COVID. Ministers don't attend the parliament. Some of them come and the doors throughout. Even if you make an analysis of all those ministers, some have not attended. Recently, I attended a function where a minister came, but even the NRM supporters never knew the minister. They were asking me, Honourable Sewung, who is that one? I told them, just look at the flag of the car. It might be somebody similar to a minister. So we cannot just continue rubber stamping everything for the sake of impressing others. Honourable Speaker, let us look at this country. Where are we putting all these ministers who are not appearing? We are going to pass the Prime Minister. They don't appear in Parliament. Some of them have never said, even laid a statement on that table. Why do we want these ministers at the cost of Ugandans who are suffering? Are we giving them cars and airtime? Honourable members, revisit your constituencies. Revisit your homes. Revisit those people who voted you and determine whether you need 80 ministers. Kenya is moving faster. Tanzania is moving faster with a low number of ministers. Uganda, 80 ministers. RDCs, those administrative costs I cannot support as a member of parliament from Kalungu West. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. And I pledge, I beseech you not to support this motion. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Can I have the Honourable
Musila John.
Musila?
Right, Honourable Speaker, thank you. Vubulo East, I raise to support the motion. I may not go to all allusions of the law, procedures, the constitution, and whatever, but the move of the motion, Honourable Doi, and the seconder touch my psyche, especially that those of us who represent rural constituencies with the elderly people. I wouldn't really think that Honorable Seungu would talk about this, especially when he knows that this country has a very large population now aging. Right, Honorable Speaker, you are yourself within the age of almost moving towards that age of elderly. I raise therefore to support fully the motion having been proposed and seconded by those who did that, fully that we move just only one. In any case, Honorable Speaker, you have been in this parliament. I'm just new, this is my first time. You did it the other time. Why can't we do it today? And especially that it's only one. Who knows in the future, I'm a Rastaman. Possibly we will have some Rastaman also appointed towards that kind of thing. I beg to move. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Nabanja.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as you recall, I had already rushed to the mic here to raise a procedural matter in the course of submission, or rather, when the move of the motion was still submitting. In his submission, he made justification for the motion by saying that the President, through his prerogative, has all the latitude to determine the number of ministers, oblivious of the Article 113, Clause 2, which gives, of the same Constitution of the Republic of Uganda of 1995. This Clause 2 gives immense powers to Parliament. If the President had the prerogative to decide, then this provision shouldn't have said shall not exceed 21, except with the approval of Parliament. And that's why the motion is in this House. Mr. Speaker, we would like to make a correlation with the bloated cabinet with improved service delivery. I would implore members to see whether there is a correlation between the so many members of parliament, ministers in the cabinet, and the improved service delivery in the countryside. Instead, it exacerbates the public spending of this country. Mr. Speaker, you realize that the economy at this time, in fact, it should only be this parliament that is discussing increasing the numbers of ministers, bloating cabinet, having a bloated parliament, having numerous administrative units, which are an administrative cost to the economy. Most parliaments in the ravaging pandemic of COVID-19 are discussing, or rather charting, strategies of how to avert a recession. Mr. Speaker, I will give you information later. Mr. Speaker, for us here, we are discussing bloating a cabinet for improved service delivery, when the experience and the facts on ground show that increasing these numbers will only increase the cost and put the burden on the shoulders of the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, we should borrow a leaf from our neighborhood. If you go to Tanzania, and may God give eternal rest
to the former president of the Republic of Tanzania, the late John Pombe Joseph Magufuli, marehemu. This is a man who in just one single presidential term moved the economy of the country to a middle income status. How did he do this? One measure of austerity. In fact, this parliament, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, we should be discussing austerity measures given that our economy is punching below its weight. He ensured that the size of cabinet was reduced, even almost to half that of his predecessor, the then President Jakaya Chakwete. He reduced the cabinet to 19. And with 19, he was able to deliver or elevate the economy of Tanzania to middle status income. Here we are. We have a president who is obsessed with numbers, and I would want, therefore, to increase the numbers of cabinet as if that will be directly proportional to the services that will be delivered to the local populace. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, before I take information, these cabinet appointments, these ministerial appointments, are only a tool for patronage and political capital, because it virtually has little to do with service delivery to the Mwananchi. Mr. Speaker, information.
Point of order.
Information, I've given information.
Point of order.
Point of order. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and I want to thank the member holding the floor. I rise on the point of order to the effect that when the Constitution was drafted, the drafters gave a provision that Parliament can give authority to have the number valid, and the President has been requesting Parliament for every term. Right Honorable Speaker, there is statistical and scientific evidence to prove that the number of ministers and the political supervisors in the country has led to improvement of impact indicators when it comes to socio-economic transformation and service delivery. For instance, life expectancy at birth has improved from 43 years to 63. Mortality rates have declined. People below the poverty line have dropped from 56 about 20 years ago to 21%. And there is a demonstration that political leadership, including numbers of political leaders, has led to this improvement. So is it in order, Right Honorable Speaker, for my friend Honorable Nambeshe to speak as if there is no science which can prove this?
Where is the science? Where is the empirical proof?
Honorable Member, I think that's a matter of differences of opinion. I could not rule the member out of order. That is his opinion, and that is yours. Please wind up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. But you see, the leadership accord stipulates very clearly that someone with vested interest, selfish interest, like the Honorable
Proceed, Honorable.
Bariamonsi, should not even have participated in the deliberations of this matter. But, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, information.
Honorable members, please, this is a very simple debate. Let him finish, you'll speak.
Okay, okay. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, I would like to take members of this 11th Parliament down memory lane, so that you do not allow to be used as rubber stamps to approve executive decisions, even for wrong reasons. Mr. Speaker, the attrition rate of the 10th Parliament was extremely high, above 75%, not only of members of Parliament, but also of ministers.
Are you suggesting that because the ministers were many, so the attrition rates were high?
No, I'm not prophesying doom.
Oh,
but
is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that, Mr. Speaker...
I think you should wind up.
I'm winding up.
Wind up.
Mr. Speaker, I'm saying that members ought to be very cautious in their minds and hearts of hearts in approving this list. In fact, I expected the President to revise it downwards to vary the numbers like his late friend who passed away, but that he is varying the total number upwards. Mr. Speaker, this 11th Parliament should not be authors of their own misfortune. I beg to submit.
Honorable members, it's about that time for our friends from the Muslim faith. I'd like to inform you that provision has been made for you to do your prayers. The time comes, there's a small tent behind the big one where you can go and have your prayers. Honorable members, the following members will speak. And please limit the time before I limit it myself. I'll take the honorable call, listen to the order first, then you start speaking in that order. The honorable call, Anthony, the honorable Sawanyana, the honorable Batwala, Doctor, the honorable Alum Santa, honorable Aliek Judith, honorable Ogon, honorable Babiko Jessica, honorable Olanya Gilbert, honorable Kai from Chiboga, honorable Tony Ayo. In that order, please use little time. These are simple matters.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Procedure, Mr. Speaker.
Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, sir, during the 10th Parliament, this floor passed the statutory instrument about COVID-19, taking the safety of everybody and our people. Just a few minutes ago, we've been discussing the issue of safety and social distancing. Mr. Speaker, are we proceeding well when members of parliament who are supposed to be exemplary congregate together and line up without social distancing? Mr. Speaker, sir.
That's part of the solution which I've just announced. I list your name so you don't have to stand together waiting to be picked. So I've picked the following to take care of that situation. I was deeply concerned myself. Please, let's use little time.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I first of all have a lot of respect for Honorable Fox Odoi and Honorable Cecilia. It is very rare for me to disagree with Honorable Cecilia Guan. She is the elderly and senior. But right, Honorable Speaker, today, every word that would come from them did not convince me. Especially, I expected that they should have come out very clearly to inform the House that we had only, when we had only 21 ministers in cabinet, this was their performance. Now when we added the figures to this, then the performance increased to this level. This detail did not come out completely. The issue that we need the elderly people to be in this parliament was sorted out. They are members of parliament here. It is not obvious that without creating that office, then there is no elder in this house that can actually be in position to be in any ministries in this country. We are aware that the Ministry of Gender also takes care of the elders in this country. I therefore don't see a reason as to why we are insisting that we should increase the number of the ministers. Especially the fact that the Constitution talks about only 21 numbers. By now, if we are supposed to do something different, what are we doing different as 11th Parliament? It should start now. And we have the authority. It is coming from the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. Those who are saying that it is upon the President to decide to see how many people he should work with, you should ask yourself, first of all, I know some of us are beneficiaries, and they are here in the House. And I'm sorry for my friends who are not happy about what I'm saying. Ask yourself, how can we help the President to do things differently? We cannot go and do the same thing year in and year out, and we expect some different in what comes out from our performance. Especially when we are talking about the COVID-19 situation now. We should be asking ourselves, if we are faced with these challenges of COVID-19, what are we reducing in terms of the cost in the country? Because what is important always when you are faced with this kind of challenge, you look at how can you reduce the cost. Or how can you increase the revenue? How are you going to increase the revenue to accommodate the more ministers you are putting in place? That should have come out. Now, if this is a problem we are facing, we should work to reduce the cost in the country. And it must start now, and it should be today. So that the rest of the country, people who are watching us, should know that this 11th Parliament is doing something different from what used to be done. The issue should not be that it is a ritual that every time the Parliament comes, we should increase the number of ministers that comes to serve this nation. It has been stated here. And Right Honourable Speaker, I know you have been on record when you were sharing this house, where sometimes you have jammed the house when the ministers are not in the house. The business cannot continue. That will tell you clearly that the number of people that not actually transform to the performance of the people. In my language, Uyoma Paul Pegolot, many rats cannot do good work in building the houses. So we have to look into this and sort it now. And it should start today so that the rest of the country see the 11th Parliament is serious and we are doing business differently. It is not business as usual. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I also join my voice to those voices before to congratulate you upon that office and your deputy. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm against the motion of increasing the ministers to 80 ministers in this country. Right Honourable Speaker, as we can see, everyone here is alluding to the fact that there is need to cost cut, and especially the costs that do go to the administration of this country. We are in the pandemic times. The country doesn't have enough money, as it has been sung by the president of this country. The country is geared towards another lockdown, but only to hear that Parliament has again increased the number of ministers to 80. You promised us that this will be another Parliament that will be doing things very differently. We want to be starting today to do these things very differently by not allowing such to happen under your chair. Right Honourable Speaker, we have always had the President introducing ministries that are a copycat, a duplication of some ministries, without roles different to the existing ministries. We have had the ministers without portfolio. We have had the minister of general duties. We don't know which kind of duties are general, but those are some of the ministers that we would want to create today. There are some positions that the President has rendered useless in roles to this country, especially if I'm to go by the saying of your predecessor, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who said that the vice president post is useless to this country. It does not perform the right roles. So such ministries should be removed, and we scale down the number to that rightful number which will benefit this country. And again, there was, as Honorable Fox Odoi was proposing that increase, he gave an example and related to the regional balance, the population service per capita. But as we see, if I'm to go with the proposal in the paparazzi, the President has proposed some names, if we are to go with that. But you see, the region with most people, the central region, according to the numbers, if we are to pass these 80 ministers, they only have 10. And the top positions are not to them, the central region for which I represent here. So that means that there is that discriminative nature of appointment by the President. And we don't know why it is the region in the center that the President this time now is saying there is no position in the top 12 positions of this country. So, for some of us who came here to represent our people, we think that it is useless to have these 80 ministers or so. Let us have the 20 or 30 that can give us service without considering so many reasons, but considering the nature of this country, the economy of this country, and even the way the president behaves in appointing his ministers, not based on what the people need, but based on what he needs as the fountain of honor. I beg to move.
Padwala.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Dr. Batua. Yeah, thank you. I oppose the motion, but most importantly, I congratulate all those who were appointed for the various offices, and I rise not to draw enmity or envy, but to advise the nation. I'm one of those parliamentarians who take this as an important privilege and opportunity to get into this house and debate as a way of building our nation. Right, Honorable Speaker, if at all the State of Nation address was a very important address, as it is, and as I do believe it is, because the law requires us to listen to the President in silence. If there is anything that I shouldn't forget, it is when he talked about the economy of this country. He particularly stated it to us that the GDP of this country was to be 6%, but because of COVID, it reduced to 3%. It was halved. It's not a surprise. So many things have gone by half due to COVID in this country. The period or the progress of education has reduced by half. A student who would take a year to complete a class is taking 2 years. Working time has been reduced. Boda bodas only work up to 6. Yet they would want to work overnight. So we are making our arguments against the evidence of COVID, which is not a simple matter. It is therefore here that I want to proceed under Rule 61, amendments to motion, sub-rule 1. When a motion is under consideration in the House or in the committee of the whole House, an amendment may be proposed to the motion if it is relevant to the motion. Right, Honorable Speaker, I propose that we, at the moment, permit 21 cabinet ministers, as it is in the Constitution, Article 112, and the 21 state ministers, for such a period as to when the cabinet minister in charge of health will ably inform us that the country is relieved, greatly relieved, of the constraints that are bestowed on us by COVID. And it is at that moment that we gather and consider whether we stretch the cabinet further or not. It is today that the country is going to be half-locked. So meaning, they will not even be able to execute work. People are not going to be allowed to cross from one district to another. But this is not permanent. It will be temporary. And it is at the discretion of the Minister of Health, of course with our medical opinion, that we shall know when to handle this. Right, Honorable Speaker, under sub-rule 4, an amendment shall not be permitted if, in the opinion of the Speaker, it substantially alters the principle of the question proposed. I'm overwhelmingly convinced that this amendment is not altering the question you put to the House, because I'm in agreement that yes, we should today pass ministers, but my amendment is on the number. 21 should pass, the rest should await the statement of the Minister of Health on COVID. I beg to move that motion.
Honorable Member, your motion actually, just like you have stated, alter the fundamentals of this motion. It's not acceptable for now. Honorable Dwazalum Santa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I also congratulate
Honorable
you.
Alum Santa. I picked Honorable Alum Santa.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the motion about increasing the number of the minister and most especially Right Honorable Speakers, the elderly. Right Honorable Speaker, the elders of this country have given it all. They have given their energy to this country, and by the facts which is on the ground, Right Honorable Speaker, I am the Secretary, the General Secretary for the forum called SAGE in the last Parliament of Uganda. And we have been moving throughout the country, Right Honorable Speaker, seeing the problems, the suffering of the elders who really did all that they could for us to see a beautiful country like this. So, Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to note that the Constitution gives Parliament a mandate to permit the President to increase the number of ministers, which he feels is reasonably necessary to efficient and effective running of the state. Right Honorable Speaker, the population of Uganda is increasing, and for that reason, only to increase the number by one from what we had in the last government, I think is not demanding too much. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to note that much as this is the 11th Parliament, and it should be unique as the 11th Parliament, we cannot completely close our eyes from what other previous parliaments did, because there are lessons that we can pick which can help us to perform extremely well as the 11th Parliament. So for that reason, Right Honorable Speaker, the 10th Parliament moved this motion that the elders should really form part of this 11th Parliament. So it's only prudent and good enough that we follow it up by also having an elder to sit on the cabinet of this country. Right Honorable Speaker, as I've noted that there are a lot of issues concerning the elders of this country. For example, we are representatives of the people of Uganda. Almost all the elders are saying that the age of 80 is really too high. We have very few people who have reached that age. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we need a minister who will be specifically focused. He or she should focus her mind or his mind on the issue that affects the elders of this country. And how best can we do that? The starting point or the beginning is now by permitting the President to increase one more position. Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda is unique in addressing the issue of disadvantages and also inequality worldwide. We have been recognized for doing this. And as I've noted, the elders have a lot of disadvantages. They have a lot of unique problems. And if we allow or permit the President to increase the number of ministers by one, considering what we had in the last government, I think we shall help in addressing the issue that the Constitution demands us to address by addressing the problems that the elders of this country face. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg your pardon. Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of the problems that the elders have. Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of the problems that the elders have, I would like to request all the colleagues who really respect the elders, who really see these variations as coming forward to address the challenges that we have by allowing one person to sit in cabinet and follow up the issues that we have been struggling with concerning the elders of this country. I want to thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, and I really invite my colleagues to support this motion. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Aliek.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on the motion that has just been moved. But before I proceed, Right Honorable Speaker, it has been a common practice that we have sanitizers around here, so that as we come to speak here, we should have to sanitize ourselves. I don't see the staff of Parliament sanitizing the microphones that we are using. We are not safe, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the mover of this motion, Honorable Fox Odoi, and the seconder, Honorable Hatat Cecilia Ogwal. If you are in this Parliament and you are discussing this motion and you have never been with an elder, wherever you come from, Right Honorable Speaker, then you cannot support this motion. You cannot. We have moved, we have lived with the elders in our various societies where we come from. We have seen the situations where our elders live in. This is something that we should take at heart, because what we have seen and what we have experienced to the age that we are in right now, and we are aware that we are moving towards becoming elders in the near future, then we have to think twice about supporting this motion, Right Honorable Speaker. There should be a docket for the elderly, sincerely, in this country. The Minister of the Elderly should be in a position to advise on how to handle the elderly, and should sit in the cabinet to address issues related to the elders in this country. Older people in Uganda have so far been forgotten for long. For long. When you look at the budgets, even in our local governments, very little is allocated for our elderly people. Now, we have elders that have come in this Parliament as representatives of the older persons in our communities. They are here. So we need that docket. We also need, we have other dockets like for youth, we have for women, we have... Now, what about the elders? They should have a voice in this country, so that the life expectancy that I wish to reach, like you people, you want to reach probably 80 years old and more. Now life expectancy in Uganda is standing at 64. 64 years. So any one of us here would not wish to end there. Now how do you reach there? How do you increase the life expectancy of the people of Uganda if we don't support the elders? If we don't support them? I support the argument that Atat Cecilia, Honorable Atimo Wal, has made on this floor, that even for the case of SAGE, that the government has been supporting our people with. We have been debating on this Parliament, the age has been increased to 80 years, sincerely. Where will you get these people of 80 years? Count them even in your respective constituencies. How many are there so that they are enrolled in SAGE? Other than going back to the age of 65, so that we enroll our people. From that age, we can now increase on their life expectancy if we support them. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, we better support the elders before they become too old, or before we reach a point where we cannot see them alive. Right Honorable Speaker, I ask this Parliament, through your permission, Right Honorable, so that we just move a motion to
support this motion, to approve this motion that has been brought by Honorable Fox Udoy, so that we get a way of helping our elders in this country. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Silence, Honorable Ogun.
Mr. Speaker, you'll allow me first to take time to congratulate you and your deputy upon the success in the elections. Before the elections, I had appetite to contest for speakership. But when I realized the kind of people I was going to race against, I decided to quietly back down. Right, Honorable Speaker, our economy is in a lockdown. Our pockets equally are in a lockdown. The workshops have been put in a lockdown. Travels abroad are now limited. The sports games have been halted. Houses of prayer have been asked to close down. The president has advised us even to pray at home because God is omnipresent. Right, Honorable Speaker, why do we need at this particular time to increase the number of ministers? We are only trying to increase the number of sirens on the roads. Our roads are still narrow. But, Mr. Speaker, I have seen people who are ministers. Maybe they are drivers. Some of them are not well trained. They don't give an opportunity to other road users, and they push them over to the bush nearly. Is that what we want to see more of? No. Therefore, I would think that, Right Honorable Speaker, it is very important that because we are in a situation of lockdown, let us lock down this decision of trying to increase the numbers. Let us give it like some 5 years, a full term of parliament. Then we can come back, reconsider, see whether it's necessary for us to increase the number. I say so with the pain. I speak as though I'm a bishop, because the Holy Spirit is speaking in me. Right, Honorable Speaker, let us hold this decision of trying to increase the number of ministers. It should not be for a ritual. This parliament should not be turned into a rubber of another kind. We are not here to stamp. We should speak, and speak for the people. If you went for a referendum right now and ask the people of Uganda whether they want more ministers or to reduce, I'm very sure they would tell us reduce the numbers. You go to the schools and there's a quagmire. Right, Honorable Speaker, students today have been pushed back home because of COVID. After parents paying fees, just 1 week, they are saying you are going back home. Next time they will go back, they will say, pay again. That is the situation where we are. Do we need to increase the numbers? Do we need all these numbers? Is it for a ceremony? No. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm pledging to commit myself to work with the few numbers, the lucky few. Even if you are 21, you'll be able to deliver. If I was given the opportunity to pick a few of the 80, I know my 21, based on what they do. But because it is the president, I don't want to talk about it. Right Honorable Speaker, therefore, I want to say I reject the motion. I do not support that wrong idea. I support the sentiments of this country that let us have a lean cabinet, but also in the future there might be need to consider downsizing in the size of this parliament. Look at the number of people from the wall to the wall, from the front to the back. There are too many The economy is dosing, but we are over pumping it with responsibility. What are we doing? I reject this motion. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, honourable members. If you look at your watches now, the budget speech is proceeding, supposed to begin at 2. We are now after 1 o'clock. Can we limit it now and close by the names as stated before? Now I go to Honourable Ababiko, Honourable Lanya, Honourable Kaya, Honourable Tony Ayo, Honourable Tinka Simire, Honourable Abdul Katuntu. Please, can we do it quickly? Please limit the time. Limit the time.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to thank the mover of this motion. I am therefore here to second this motion. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I want to appreciate the framers of our Constitution. They provided for the unseen. From 1995, this is now 2021. Time difference of 26 years. There are a lot of changes in terms of population, varied demands, increasing number of members of parliament, where we are seated here. And we have to work with cabinet members. We have many ministries. Right Honourable Speaker, if we want to adjust things, we have to start it from the primary level. Without adjusting the number of ministries, at this point it will not be fair to talk about reducing the number of cabinet members. Right Honourable Speaker, therefore I want to thank the framers. Secondly, I want to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda and those who are participating in the good governance. Our people are so happy because of the inclusive governance of this country. The inclusiveness has brought on board all special interest groups. You can name them, and that also includes our elders. I come from Ajuman district, Right Honourable Speaker. The first assignment my elders gave me is go to Parliament, present our challenges, discuss with the structures to provide solutions to their problems. Right Honourable Speaker, therefore we need that provision where we shall have a person designated to whom we can present our issues from our constituencies. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank all the members. We are here determining numbers. We are not determining individuals for positions. Right Honourable Speaker, therefore, to me it will not be fair for us to refer to poor performances as an attachment in determination of this motion. Right Honourable Speaker, I pray that we support this and we add this one number. This to me is a response to our cry as persons with disabilities. Right Honourable Speaker, we met His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda. We made a request that based on our uniqueness as persons with disabilities, merging us with elders will disadvantage us. Therefore, as we are debating this proposal, I know persons with disabilities and elders are receiving their response. Therefore, I highly support this motion. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, debating and handling things differently does not mean that you should always dissent, because we are providing justifications on why this number should go up by 1. And people are stating the reasons as to why this number has to be added. Therefore, I strongly believe that this shift is a positive shift. It is not just a change that people are opting for. Therefore, I thank His Excellency the President, my colleagues, in supporting this motion. Thank you so much.
Honorable Lanya.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to join my colleagues for congratulating you for having been elected democratically as the Speaker of the 11th Parliament. I congratulate you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, looking at the matter in point, we need to ask ourselves as the country, at this particular time, given the situation, is it relevant for Parliament to be discussing increasing the numbers of ministers at this particular time? Right Honorable Speaker, we are not in a normal situation, as you stated. Right now, the economy is down. Private sector is down. Right now, if you look at what is happening in the hospitals around the country, there are no oxygen cylinders. People are suffering, people are dying. But for us as members of Parliament, we are discussing varying the numbers of ministers. The cabinet ministers from 21 to 30, and the state ministers. Right Honorable Speaker, looking at this situation, let us try to be serious as members of Parliament. Somebody is talking of age. Right Honorable Speaker, if you look at the appointed ministers and those who serve in the 10th Parliament, age has already been catered for. Let me give you an example. Look at General Moses Sali. He has been in the cabinet all along. Look at the head of state, His Excellency the President. He is there. Look at Tom Butime, among others. If we talk of age, I am telling you, I can confirm that 30% of our cabinet ministers, including the head of state, are elderly. Therefore, when we are reasoning, we should not think that the president may appoint someone who is elderly in that particular position. Elders are already been catered for. Right Honorable Speaker, all those ministries that we have them, they come with budget. All those ministries, they come with budget, Right Honorable Speaker.
Point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, I feel very uncomfortable to order a colleague. But it is very, very unfair and selfish for the member to say, because Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister Moses Ali is elderly, the President is elderly, and so on. Therefore, they should take care of the elderly program. Right Honorable Speaker, we are here on a motion which has been proposed and framed based on the law. We are saying we need a docket for the elderly that can design legal framework, that can design the policies and programs that takes care of the elderly, that can monitor and evaluate the work done for the elderly. And if the president is not given that specific assignment, if Moses Ali is not given that specific assignment, how do you expect Moses Ali to come up with the framework? Right Honorable Speaker, I'm on order. I order the previous speaker.
The point
so
of
right,
order.
Is it therefore in order to expect ministers who are appointed for other assignment to be dealing with the elderly when that is not part of their assignment in their dockets? So is the Honorable Gilbert Olanya in order to expect that Honorable Moses Ali and the President should be coming up with the framework to deal with the elderly? Is he in order?
I think each time a minister is appointed, they are given their schedule of duties. I don't know which particular one was handling the elderly. It was generally under the Ministry of Labor, Gender, Labor and Social Development. There was no specific one which was taking care of this. We had for youth, workers, and all those who are there.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Please wind up.
Thank you for your wise ruling. Right Honourable Speaker, I thank Honourable Mark Cecilia, but she should note that we are discussing the motion number 7. That states, motion for a resolution of Parliament to vary the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers in accordance with the Article 113. We are not zeroing ourselves only on the elderly ministry that we are talking about. I think honourable members should understand that. Right, Honourable Speaker, as I wind up, right now we have so many ministries. And all those ministries...
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to put the records right. My colleague, the honourable colleague, mentioned and is misleading this parliament that there is no oxygen cylinder in the entire country. Mr. Speaker, there is a difference between oxygen cylinder and oxygen in the cylinder for the patient. The government of Uganda has put in place oxygen plants, what we call oxygen plants, in all the regional hospitals to provide oxygen which is to be put into the cylinder for the patient. And for that matter, I would wish to put the records right that yes, the government has got oxygen with cylinders with oxygen in the referral and the district hospitals. However, due to the high demand because of the COVID situation, some facilities have got inadequate oxygen supplies. Therefore, is my honourable colleague in order to mislead this House by saying there are no oxygen cylinders in the entire country, Mr. Speaker?
I think, Honourable Olanya, you have been educated on this matter now.
Yes. Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, I made mention that...
No, proceed now. Proceed,
okay.
Please.
Thank you, Right Honourable
Wind
Speaker.
up.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, what I was saying is that all these ministries, they have more than 3 or 4 ministers in those ministries. And now we ask ourselves, how effective are those ministers? For example, in the Ministry of Education, we have 4 ministers. In the Ministry of Health, we have 3 ministers. Under the office of the Prime Minister, we have 7 ministers. And we ask ourselves, how effective are they? As a wider brother Honourable Speaker, these ministers, they cannot take up decisions by themselves. They have to wait from His Excellency the President. For example, every month we are seeing His Excellency coming on televisions, telling people how to put on face masks, how to wash hands, as if we don't have the minister in charge of health. What are the functions of those ministers? Right, Honourable Speaker, right now we have very many youth who are arrested, they are in prisons, they are being tried in court martials. The minister in charge of internal affairs cannot come up and say, you release those youth who are arrested from Kampala. Right, Honourable Speaker, we need a practical ministers. We have so many ministers, more than 80 for what? If you cannot make a decision and you cannot stand up for the country.
Honourable member, your time is up.
Thank you, I beg to move.
Honourable members, please bear with me. The time is running out. I have 4 members to speak. Please take a short time to make your presentation. Honourable Kaya.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I also congratulate you and the Deputy upon the success of the seats you're holding right now. Dear Honourable members, we are not in good times. And based on the budget analysts, they are telling us to focus on items that really mobilize domestic revenue. And when we look at an additional minister, those are additional expenses that don't add any revenue to us. We are seeing different sectors foregoing very many things. The teachers are foregoing salaries. The schools, the parents are foregoing school fees. Everybody is foregoing something. What are we showing the public? What are we foregoing as parliament, as cabinet? And then we are also looking at the representation role as members of parliament, being gender sensitive. And being gender sensitive requires you to consider a number of special interest groups, and one of them is the elderly. And you are requested to keep shifting goals based on the vulnerabilities. If we see that the elderly are more vulnerable than the people living with HIV, than the children, than the youth, then we shift our goals to focusing on the elderly. I've been consulting with the people from Chiboga, the elderly who want support. They are here requesting for other things other than a minister. They are requesting for additional money in health. They are requesting for additional money in SAGE and increasing the amount that is given to them every month, but they have not requested for a minister. So I am really opposing the motion of adding another minister. I beg to move.
Thank you. It's not the people asking, it's the president asking. Honorable Tonayo. Briefly, please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to congratulate you upon the confidence that this Parliament put on you to be the Speaker and your deputy, and we only pledge cooperation and working together to support you in doing your work. Right Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Article 111, Clause 1, and Article 113, Clause 2, and Article 114, Clause 3, I support the motion presented by Honorable Fox Odoi requesting Parliament to vary the number of ministers from what is provided in the Constitution. Right Honorable Speaker, I support this motion majorly because, among other things, one, in the previous government and like last Parliament, the number of ministers were up to 79. And in the 11th Parliament, the President has made a request to add one additional Minister of State to make the number get to 80. And the ministry that the President is requesting is to have a Minister of State in charge of the elderly. Right Honorable Speaker, this is why I totally support the motion. I have been a member of the Parliamentary Forum on SAGE. When I have been moving around in my campaigns, I was meeting the elders and they were making appealing statements to me that when you get to Parliament, think about our flight, because we toil a lot to produce children, to send them to school, to pay taxes and do a lot of things. But when we get old, we feel we are being neglected. And you people get to Parliament, we don't see much coming to support our flight in terms of how they should survive. Even the SAGE money is little, and we hear from time to time, Parliament is fighting, some group of people want it scrapped away, other people are saying, let it be there. You are not providing opportunity to put enough money to support us, the elderly. You are not taking serious issues on our policy. Right Honorable Speaker, this is one of the reasons that I feel the President providing to have a state minister in charge of the elderly is a good intention. First of all, it's a good debate we are doing now about the elderly people. The minister is supposed to provide policies, to make engagement, to influence issues in cabinet and in government, to move around to look for support on how to put in resources and programs and policies and laws that would look at the welfare of the elderly, not only today, but what would be put on ground that even we who are still young now will come to benefit out of that, Right Honorable Speaker. This is why I would want to urge this Parliament that let's support this proposition, But the question of ministers not performing is a different matter. And that would come to us to put the ministers to task, to ask the government to put the ministers to task to perform, because performance and having somebody in place are two different things. So when we are discussing somebody has failed to perform and somebody being there, Right Honorable Speaker, I think we would be missing the point. The biggest question in this country that we should be able to discuss and debate and take very seriously, and even ask the president to commit himself and take it seriously, is fighting corruption. A lot of money that we put in get wasted, get lost to corruption than getting to pay one minister, Right Honorable Speaker. So, we are setting a government, we are putting in systems. Let's allow the president to have things for him to work, and when they fail, that would be the responsibility of those who have been put in place to do the work. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the members who have supported the motion and ask the members that when time comes, let us vote and support the motion and give the president the tools of work so that we are not blamed for the failures, but we will blame them for having all the tools and then they fail to work. Right Honorable Speaker, because of the elders who produce us, who look after us, we must give something for them. This is not too much. I ask members to support the motion and we have the verification done. Thank you. The variation.
Honorable Kasimire. Is he here? Honorable Kasimire.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm moving to inform your Honorable Chair.
No.
That Honorable Tinka is not around.
No, then
but our rules...
You are not the right person. Please. Honorable, you know the rules.
Yes, can I say...
The speakers here are not caught you.
But he has been called for an emergency, and rules 7 and 8 put me in the best position.
Honorable Abdul Katuntu.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Like my colleagues have said before, I do congratulate you and your deputy upon assuming the highest offices in this institution. I have been a little bit uneasy with the general trend of the debate because, one, Right Honorable Speaker, we've been debating generally. And this arises out of the move of the motion because he just sought a blanket approval without going into the details. And that's quite unfortunate. I think next time, if we are having a motion like that, we need to look at what the law provides and what has been happening and why the president should need specific ministries other than those provided for already under the Constitution. I'll give you an example, Right Honorable Speaker. The Constitution under Article 113 and 114 provide for a specific number of ministries. That is 21 for cabinet ministers and 21 for other ministers, meaning every ministry should have one minister and any other minister. At the time of enacting the 1995 Constitution, Right Honorable Speaker, we did not have ministers of state. We instead had deputy ministers. So, what the CA envisaged at that time, that you have one minister, for example, of education, and a deputy minister of education. The situation has since then changed. And I'll give you an example, because I'm speaking for the motion. Let us look at the ministries, Right Honorable Speaker. Ministry of Education. There is one senior minister and two other ministers. Actually, three. There is a minister in charge of sports. There is a minister in charge of primary education and a minister in charge of higher education. Do you think that is unnecessary when we are debating? that you have a senior minister of education and then 2-3 other ministers to handle the sectors within that ministry? Is it unnecessary? Will it be a huge load for this minister to look to handle sports, to handle primary education and secondary education? If you think it will be a huge load, then there is nothing you can do other than revising or seeking permission to approve the variation of the minister from number 21 to another number. Let us look at defense, for example. You have 2 deputy ministers or ministers of state. The minister in charge of veterans and then the minister in charge of, state minister in charge of defense. Is it a wastage of resources to have these 2 political leaders to oversee the sector? Or that's what it should be? Let us look at agriculture, Right Honorable Speaker. You have the senior minister and you have 3 other ministers of state: animal husbandry, fisheries, and agriculture. Is it necessary to have a specific minister in charge of fisheries? Some of you colleagues come from fishing communities. Don't you think it is okay to have a minister in charge of fisheries? Don't you think it's okay for you who come from the cattle corridors to have a minister in charge of animal husbandry? And I thought this should have been the debate. The Honorable Fox Odoi should have taken us through that to say we need in this ministry these ministers. And if we need them, can they fall within the 21 ministers? Absolutely not possible. Absolutely not possible. So, I think yes, it's good to raise the worries that the cabinet is becoming too big, such that next time we don't have the president coming again to seek for more and more positions. As of now, I think, Right Honorable Speaker, if you look at the structure as it has been, you will need those ministries. I'm yet to see somebody to come and say, in this ministry, you don't need this one. Let us look at health. I saw Dr. Chen here. Do you need a minister in charge of primary health or you don't? Do you need another state minister in that ministry to do general duties, to assist the senior minister or not? I think this is the whole debate. This is what the debate should be. Right Honorable Speaker, from the structure I've seen, because I participated in the debate when we were increasing this number of ministries then, I don't have any problem with the request of Honorable Fox Odoi. However, the Honorable Fox Odoi should have gone further and informed us of the portfolios the President is coming up with, such that we are aware. Many colleagues here were not here in the last Parliament. They don't know how we arrived at these numbers. And now we are having this debate again without the move of the motion going into those details. I speak for the motion, Right Honorable Speaker.
Does the Leader of the Opposition have any word on this? Briefly, sir.
Motion. Right Honorable Speaker.
I think let the Leader of the Opposition speak. We close.
Okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Briefly, sir.
Yes, sir. Much obliged. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I missed the Honorable Fox Odoi in the 10th Parliament. He was known for making earth-moving motions. This particular one was a bit limpy. I don't know whether it was in haste when he brought it. And I'm not sure whether on another day he could bring it the same way. I share the sentiments of the Honorable Abdul Katun, to my senior, that probably the mover could have done better. First of all, the debate, various. I think members have been speaking to the fact that couldn't the president cater for the elderly within the 79? There's no one against the elders of this land. The debate is about the numbers. The members are describing as bloated. And this is where the mover and the seconders would have helped this House to appreciate the concerns of the members. To the mover, yes, we accept and appreciate that the presidents have the prerogative to appoint. But that cannot in any way make us abdicate the duty that is both cautionary and advisory to the appointing authority. And this is where I would expect the House to rise and caution and even advise the President that, look, probably his efforts for the elderly are dispirited. And him being a hammer, every problem really requires a nail. Probably could say the problems of the elderly are not ministers. Like a member previously moved, they need more money on SAGE. They need medical care. I expect, for example, in these hard times, the Minister of Health to immediately move and ask for resources to fund our health centers, our hospitals that are in dire state, not public expenditure growing very fast. Right, Honourable Speaker, we appreciate that the elders of this land need special care. I don't think per se that they need political mainstreaming. They need planning within what is available. Political mainstreaming is a huge asking on our already strained public expenditure. I would need to put the House on notice, right, Honourable Speaker, that going forward, in months to come, I would move a motion, it will be me or somebody from this side, that speaks to looking at the Constitution to reconsider special interest groups in Parliament. Because we all come from these communities where they are, and their needs are not really political representation, but service. And I want to join members who believe that we could do better to facilitate these special interest groups by making provision for their needs other than political mainstreaming, which can easily make them believe that they've been catered for politically, yet their needs are beyond politics. I want to restate, Right Honourable Speaker, that our duty as Parliament is not casual. It's not a peremptory norm that we sit here and approve because it was done from the fixed Parliament. We owe a duty of caution and advice to the appointing authority when we believe that it does not, his interests or his desires may not actually meet his, the objective may not be met by simply rubber stamping. Of course, I appreciate when members cautionary do approve, especially from my right side, because probably the presumption, Right Honourable Speaker, is that it could be me, it could be the other, and therefore the desire to be the ones can be understood. Imat, Cecilio Gual, I want to assure you, we sit on the same side of the House. I want to assure that this side is for the elderly. We only want to help them better. That we undertake measures that will really help them, not simply political mainstream them as a way of saying we cannot for you even have a minister. We have had a minister for youth for several years. I don't think the youth in this country even know that that minister actually caters for their interests. Their interests are different. We could do better, Right Honourable Speaker. For today, the House should be reminded that they owe a duty of caution and advice to the appointing authority. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very, very much, honourable members, for this debate. The time is over. The President is ready to join us for the afternoon session, the budget proceedings. Honourable members, my recollection may not help me much, but let me state it nevertheless. At about midday, on the 12th of May, 2021, there were 79 ministers. That is less than a month ago. Today, less than a month thereafter, they are asking that from the 79, we approve 80. I don't think there's much that has changed between the 12th and today, 10th, to make us change our entire mind about the structure of either 79 or 80. But the debates have been concluded. I now put the question that the motion for resolution of Parliament to vary the number of cabinet ministers and other ministers in accordance with Articles 113 and 114 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda be adopted. Will those in favor say aye? To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Next. It's a short one.
He has left.
Yes, it's okay. We'll manage.
Item number 5? No.
Yes.
Is it 5? Motion seeking...
No, constitution of the committees.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Constitution of the Appointment Committee.
Item number 5. Constitution of the Appointments Committee in accordance with the Rule 161 and 168 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament.
Honorable members, the law requires us to have an appointment committee that will handle the appointment that will be coming from the President. I now present to you the list of members from the parties in Parliament, from the UPDF, and also from the independent members of Parliament. From UPDF, we have the Honorable Badney Basu Wilson. 1. From NUP, we have Honorable Nabanja John Baptist, Honorable Seungu Joseph Gonzaga, Honorable Lule Aisha Kabanda, Honorable Aol Betio Chan, Honorable Sesaga Isaias Johnny. Those are from NUP. NUP stops at Honorable Nalule Aisha Kabanda. Honorable Betio Chan is FDC. Honorable Sesaga Isaias Johnny, FDC. Honorable Alum Santa Wang, UPC. Honorable Okot Peter, DP. Honorable Basalira Asuman, JEMA. Honorable Okot Santa, PPP. Honorable Kabe Patrick, Independent. Honorable Lamwaha Margaret, Independent. Honorable Rabusheja Margaret, Independent. NRM, Honorable Dr. Kulu Abuka, Honorable Awo Betingola, Honorable Nagumia Claire, Honorable Dr. Asime Florence Akiki, Honorable Renaito Rokajara, Honorable Kambale Fred Ferigo, Honorable Najuma Sara, Honorable Kabanda David, Honorable Robina Rakojo, Honorable Kubeketeria James, Honorable Oroni Dennis, Honorable Aiko Patrick, Honorable Irene Muloni Nafuna, Honorable Twala Fadil, Honorable Daisy Alex, Honorable Odoe Bernard, and Honorable Catherine Mavenjina Akumu. Those are the names that have been proposed by the different parties and groups in Parliament. I now put the question for the approval of these names. Will those in favor say aye? To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I have just been notified from the UPDF there's a change. From the UPDF, it's not Honorable Mbandi Mbaso Wilson, it's Honorable Eluelo. I think that's approved by the UPDF representation. I put the question to that amendment that Honorable Eluelo now be a member of the Appointment Committee. Those in favor say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, this House is suspended, adjourned. It's suspended. House is suspended for a few minutes. If you can have a bite, the President is arriving. House suspended.